A good writer must also be a good reader. So I always ask you, writers, what are you reading these days? What fiction, and especially if you're writing fiction, are you reading these days? And how will it influence your own writing? What lessons can you apply from it to your own writing? I'll tell you my answer in just a moment. It's Sam with another Friday video for you. Here to talk about reading, writing, fandom, and editing, publishing, and all that. Well, maybe not all at once, but things related to that category. So here's my answer. Here's my fiction read that I've been reading, that I read finished earlier this month. It is another Star Wars book. You know, I'm a fan of those. This is Star Wars The High Republic. It's the third adult novel. There are some young adult ones too. I have not read those yet. Not sure if I'll get to them anytime soon. It's the third adult novel in this series of The High Republic. It's called The Fallen Star by author Claudia Gray. She's written a couple other Star Wars novels. I read one of hers called Master and Apprentice. That was about Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan before Phantom Menace, and that was pretty cool. I know she's written a couple others that I have not read yet, I don't think. There's one called Lost Stars, I believe. It's a popular one I've heard of. I just haven't read it yet. Anyway, The Fallen Star. Let me tell you about this series. I've talked about it before. If you want to scroll back and go through my videos or my podcast episodes, you can find my reviews of the first two in this trilogy. Overall, it was a really good book. A really engaging read. It was good, but inconclusive for a trilogy. I'll tell you what I mean by that in a little bit. So I'll tell you what I liked and didn't like, and how that can affect our writing, and all the things I learned. So anyway, okay, so Star Wars novels. I'm not going to go into all the history of them. Basically, this is the new canon, meaning stuff that was written before 2014 or 15 or so is no longer considered canon by Disney. So if you're a fan of the Old Republic games or anything like that, I think those are not canon anymore. They're called legends and things like that, like things that could have happened in the universe, but they're not necessarily part of Disney's timeline. The High Republic is kind of replacing what the Old Republic used to be. It's still old, but it's not like as old. It's like it takes place 200 years before the movies, so not thousands and thousands of years before the movies. Like I think the Republic did. It takes place about 200 years before the movies. So I mean, characters like Yoda are still around. He's not a main character in this, but he's mentioned. It's the Jedi Order basically during their prime, during the Republic's prime. When we see them even in the prequels, you know, the Republic is going through unrest, and the Jedi, of course, are almost to the point of their order ends. This is like supposed to be the prime of the Republic and the Jedi Order. But of course, all is not well because there's villains to fight. The villains are this group called the Nihil, or I've been saying it like that. It's Nihil, same word you get from nihilism or annihilate, and they're basically like space terrorists. Like, and they're not like the Sith who believe in the power of the dark side or like, believe in any kind of cause outside of themselves. They're more just like, we're going to cause terror because we can, so people will be afraid of us, and people will know that we're the ones in control here. You know, the High Republic, or the Republic is a joke. You know that they're not. You know, they can't save you, they can't protect you, they can't control you. We want to show everyone that we are in charge. So they don't really have a cause other than, I guess, chaos or anarchy or power for themselves. But it's this group of terrorists led by a guy named Marchion Ro. I guess he's the overarching villain, but there's others within them. And the first two books, the Jedi Order did battle with them, try to prevent the Nihil from causing space disasters or pick up the pieces after they did cause disasters, things like that. It is an ensemble cast. There's the heroes are a large group, the Jedi Order, the villains are a large group, the Nihil, of course, they have to focus on some specific characters in there, but there's still a vast number of characters, major and minor, in these three books. The main Jedi here, there's a couple of interesting characters. I'll get to them in a minute. The plot of this one focuses on the Nihil have kind of been weakened after the first couple books, but they're still trying to do like one last one last push, one last, hey, the galaxy needs to be afraid of us and need to know that we're still out there trying to get their power back. So there's a space station called Starlight Beacon. It's a big space station that the Republic has set up for refugees and Nihil attacks. It's supposed to be a safe place, a safe haven where people whose worlds have been ravaged or destroyed can come. It's this big floating space station in the middle of space, obviously, and then the healer are like, yeah, we're gonna knock this thing down and send it crashing to the planet below. So like, even your safe haven isn't safe from us. That's why it's called the Fallen Star. The Fallen Star refers to the space station, and so basically, the whole book is almost a self-contained episode. Like I mentioned in the last couple, there were certain parts at the beginning or the middle that where the pacing was very fast. Where like the whole thing took place in probably a couple of hours, and when I read it, I don't get the full effect because just in my schedule these days, I only have time for reading maybe 30 minutes to an hour at night. I read a couple chapters a night. So I'm reading this. It took me about probably 2 weeks to read it. But the whole thing takes place in probably, I don't know, most of the action takes place in probably a day, a few hours of a day. So again, if you are able to binge read and you're one of those people who has time like that and is inclined that way and you just feel like you want a fast-paced action adventure, I recommend that because it seems like it would lend itself to that. It takes place in probably a few hours, and you would get the full effect. I was not able to do that, so I just had to kind of pick myself up and put myself back in the story each time. That's okay. That's just the way my life is these days. But it is a fast-paced adventure where basically the Jedi are on Starlight Beacon, or a few of the main characters are trying to watch out for the refugees and stuff, and then they find out, oh, there's this plan to destroy it, and there are some Nihil terrorists who snuck infiltrated with them, and they're committing a suicide mission. Basically, they're not planning to get out alive. They're just saying, hey, they planted some bombs and disabled the systems. Whenever now there's techno talk that I don't remember now, but they'll explain it in the book, of course. But basically, the whole station is gonna crash down to the ground, to the planet below, unless the Jedi can stop her, or unless the Jedi can save as many people as they can. So it's this whole fast-paced adventure of basically a rescue mission, of the Jedi trying to either stop the bad guys or I guess in the immediate term rescue as many people as they can. And spoiler warning. I mean, it's not really a spoiler. It's just like maybe could be viewed as anticlimax depending on your expectations. That's kind of the whole book. Like, this is the end of a trilogy, or kind of. It's the third book in a series, and I was expecting it to kind of wrap up the conflict with the Nihil, and it really doesn't. I mean the whole thing focuses on this one episode of the Starlight Beacon falling and the Jedi trying to rescue them, and there are other comments about, like, oh yeah, over there, these minor characters, Avar Kriss, who was in the first book but hasn't been in it much since then. She's chasing down Lorna D. Lorna D is one of the high-ranking officers on the Heel, but it's mentioned but it's not there. So it's like the larger conflict is happening, but this focuses on this one conflict of Starlight Beacon falling down. And if you were looking forward to like some great battle, great final confrontation between the Jedi's forces and the Nihil's forces, it's not in this book. Maybe it's still coming. This is the third one, and I thought it was supposed to be the end of a trilogy, because they are making a fourth one, like a fourth adult novel, but it's kind of like I don't know. If you look at the Wikipedia page or the plot summary, it seems like it's taking a different focus. Like they're starting a new phase of the High Republic or a new trilogy or something like that. So there is a fourth one coming out. But I read the plot summary. I think it's coming out in November or something. But I read the plot summary and it doesn't sound like it's picking up right where this one left off. So it's kind of inconclusive. I mean, I don't want to spoil the ending for you, but it is a somewhat cliffhanger ending. I mean, they resolve this one conflict, but not the overarching battle. In the fourth book, it doesn't sound like it's gonna deal with that conflict as much. Maybe there will still be pieces picking together. So anyway, this is a great book for just action adventure, sci-fi, space opera, self-contained, fast-paced action. If you're looking for an epic conclusion to the saga, this isn't it. But it's a good installment, and I am interested to read what comes next. And there, like I said, there are young adult novels too, and like junior reader novels that are taking place concurrently with this. I have not read those. I have at least one friend who has. Maybe I'll ask him, like, do those fill in the story too? Because I feel like I'm missing something. I mean, it was a good story, but I feel like I'm missing part of it. So maybe you need to read the whole thing to get it. I'm not against reading young adult novels. I mean, when I was a young adult, I read many of the Star Wars novels back then. As an adult, with a lot to read and a lot to sift through, I've been prioritizing the adult ones. Maybe I'll get to the young adult ones, the new ones one of these days. Anyway, my point is, it's a good story. It's a good, fast-paced action story, but it's not the conclusion that I expected it to be. Maybe that some of us were expecting, and therefore maybe it's not the conclusion. Maybe there's more to come in the next few books. But anyway, let me tell you what I liked about this. Obviously, like I mentioned, the fast-paced action. It's done really well. It's just, I mean, you feel like you're in the action. I mean, even though I was reading it over the space of time, you feel like you have that sense of urgency and a sense of like, okay, this is happening in real time. It's very focused. I mean, it's very focused on the plot on this one episode, and therefore it's like, I mean, yes, there's multiple characters on this massive space station and surrounding events and areas, but so it is an ensemble cast, but it's they're all focused on the same crisis. You get the sense of urgency and everything. So it does that in a good way. And the first two books too, or the first two books I'd say the same thing of, and it's interesting to me because I mean I'm not sure how this works behind the scenes, but they're written by three different authors. The first one was Charles Soule, second one was Kevin Scott, this one's Claudia Gray. They've all written other Star Wars books and other stuff, but they seem to have a unity of purpose. Unlike some Star Wars trilogies at convention that had different directors, the sequels, no, nothing, never mind. But they seem to have a unity of purpose and like even of style. Like I mean, if I didn't know, if I read all three books and didn't know who the author was, I might not realize that they were written by different people. They have similar, I mean, similar enough styles. I mean, I'm sure there's differences you could analyze or whatever, but like as far as writing the fast-paced action and treating the characters in the same way, there's a lot of consistency, which is cool. So Claudia Gray, delivers just as much as the last two authors did. It's great. She does well in the fast-paced action and everything. I really I like the characters. I mean, even though these were characters I didn't know before this series, it's I'm a Star Wars fan, so I love this universe. But now I'm interested in the characters too. Like I said, obviously the Jedi are in it. I mean, different Jedi than we met in any of the movies because these are 200 years beforehand. But there's characters who I've grown attached to over three books now. There's two I guess adult Jedi. Jedi Knights who are kind of the forefront of this one, and there's a couple of Padawans who are friends on board too. And the adults, the two of them, one is named Stellan Gios, the other is Elzar Mann. You might know those names if you've taken an interest in the Star Wars stuff that's coming out lately. Stellan is like the golden boy kind of the Jedi Order. He's supposed to be like you were the best and brightest of us, and he's the one who everyone kind of looks to as a hero in these troubling times. But of course, he struggles with living up to that image, and he wonders, do I deserve it and stuff like that. Elazar is almost kind of the opposite. He's like a Jedi who struggles with his convictions. Like he doesn't think he. I mean, I guess in some ways that's similar, but he doesn't think he's up for this stuff. Like he doubts himself. He struggles with things that are not of the Jedi Order. Like he has feelings for this other Jedi Knight, a woman who they've been friends with since they were younger, and he tries to put his feelings out of his mind, but he's like, they're still there. He struggles with that. I think in the last book, he actually spent the night with a lady and regretted it, because obviously that goes against the Jedi Code. Not saying I approve of that, just saying it's an interesting character facet. I mean, these guys who are basically committed to a religious order, to a moral code, and they don't all live it perfectly. They struggle with it. I'm sure if Jedi were real, we'd have some who were struggling with things like that. I'm sure monks do or whatever. I mean, I'm a man of faith, and I struggle with temptation. I struggle with living up to my convictions and living out the principles I believe in. So I mean, I get it. Like I guess what I'm saying is relatable human characters, even in these extraordinary circumstances. Even in a space war, there are ordinary human characters, and I've put out that formula there before, but that's kind of what you want. Big circumstances, you can have a spaceship battle, magic, flying Jedi Knights, whatever. Ordinary characters, meaning even in the midst of these big circumstances, you want characters who are real and human and relatable. So she does that well. I mean, Claudia Gray does that well. I think all three of the books that I've read so far have done that well, but this one definitely does. So Stellan and Elsa are like friends. They've been friends since childhood in the Order, so they contrast each other that way. And then there's two like younger Jedi or two apprentices. One of them, minor spoilers if you want to read the first two books, but he lost his master. His master was killed in the war with the Nihil, so he's dealing with the grief of that. The other friend is this Wookiee Jedi. If I can focus in on his picture there. Well, he's kind of in the back, but there's a Jedi who's a Wookiee, so that's pretty cool. He's an apprentice. He's a cool character, and these apprentices are friends. So there's I guess four-ish main good guys surrounded by an ensemble cast of many others, and there's of course lots that goes on this space station, and all kinds of all kinds of things there. Yeah, it is inconclusive. Also, there's a this shouldn't be a big spoiler, but there's while they're on the spaceship or the space station trying to solve this crisis, like trying to use every resource they have and everything, the Jedi realize their connection to the Force is blocked or muted somehow. Like it's not for whatever reason they're not able to access the Force like they usually do, and they're not able to sense things. So something is causing that. And again, minor spoilers, but it's kind of an anti-spoiler. They never really explain why in the book. They're like something must be causing this, and they can't investigate it really because they're too focused on saving the ship, saving the lives of everyone on the ship and stuff like that. But then they never really explain what it is, so that's why I also think it's inconclusive, or maybe there'll be more to be continued. In the original expanded universe, it's no longer canon. In the books, there were these little furry creatures, like alien creatures, they called Isalamir, and they somehow like pushed the Force out from them, like they were like deterrents to the Force in a certain radius of them. I don't know if they're trying to bring that element into the new canon now, or if it's something else, some other explanation. But there's some deterrent to their Force usage, and it has not been explained in this book. It just is there. So that's also why I feel like there's some inconclusive elements. But overall, if you like Star Wars, if you like sci-fi action, this is a great book. Again, don't start with this one as the third in a series or a trilogy. Start with the one that's called High Republic: Light of the Jedi by Charles Soule. That was the first one of the adult novels. But if you like it and you want to keep going, this is a really fun read. And honestly, it is mostly self-contained. So even if you read this one first, like I said, it's episodic. Maybe not they all are, but this one is one self-contained episode. You probably could read books that would be more confusing to you than this one would be if you read them first. So this one, like even then, you could probably figure out what's going on more or less. It's largely a self-contained adventure. I would say a heist isn't the right word because it's more of I guess the bad guys are trying to do a heist, but it's like a self-contained, fast-paced adventure. Good guys versus bad guys. Good guys trying to save lives. Traditional, classic. Good versus evil. Good versus problem. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. What I like about it, what I recommend for writers to apply is the fast-paced action. When you are writing action scenes, it's at least not every scene in your book is like that, but there you go. And when I say action, it's not all that. It's not like every page is lightsaber fights or punching or flying spaceships. There's dialogue between the characters about how do we approach this. What do we do? How are you handling all this? There is character development and stuff like that, but it's like it's urgent to the point that it moves the plot along. It's not just like large chapters that don't have to do with anything. Everything moves the plot along and is part of the current crisis. So yeah, fast-paced action, realistic characters or believable characters. Again, big circumstances of a sci-fi space battle, but believable characters, human characters that the reader can relate to. And I guess just exploring this world some more, this galaxy far away that many of us have come to love. So those are the things that I recommend applying for writers of sci-fi or of any genre like this. I guess the only things I didn't like are that it's inconclusive, but that's not necessarily the author's fault if there's a larger plan at work in the Disney Star Wars novels. So yeah, Fallen Star by Claudia Gray. Go read it. Check it out. Check out the Star Wars books and tell me what you think. Until then, keep reading, writing, and learning from what you read. And hope your weekend goes great. And hope you have success in your writing projects this week. Thanks for listening in, and may the force be with you all. Bye.